Joining us on the line is from CougarsDen.com, Mr. Rob Sellers. Good morning, Rob. Thanks for coming on the show. My first question to you, because I have a lot, we all have questions for this matchup today, and we like to go inside the belly of the beast to ask these questions. But looking at the affiliation and CougarsDen.com, and my first question to you, how many people go to CougarsDen.com looking for a relationship with an older woman rather than U of H football?
Hopefully not very many, at least not for very long. And I'm pretty sure that once they get there, they figure out that's not what they were looking for. But the funny thing is, actually, the Twitter handle I have, the reason it is Cougars_Den is because the Cougars Den regular was already taken by something to that effect. So,
okay.
I might be following that already, actually.
Exactly.
That's cool, though. At least they can come to your site, and if they're even looking for mature women, at least they'll see, oh, well, U of H football is cool, and this is a good read, and maybe you get some of those people. So
there you go. Maybe I can retain a few.
There you go. Hey, thanks for joining us. I guess the question out of the gate for this, what is the take on the U of H side, on the Houston Cougars side? How are they perceiving this UTSA team? How serious are they taking them? And talk about some of the talking points leading up to this game.
I think they're, the fan base, of course, some of the diehards are going to be diehards, and they'll assume that it's just UTSA, no problem. But I think there's a lot of wise people that understand. They've kept an eye on what UTSA is doing, and there's even a few of the people from the fan base that I've heard discussing at times, like UTSA should be a team we should consider if there's any more movement down the road, possibly for conference realignment, because they realize that the following that UTSA has in San Antonio, the emergence that they've had, the program, the job that Larry Coker's been able to do early on in growing that program into really a competitive team. They've moved quickly, even though they've only been playing ball a few years. They've landed in Conference USA already. Of course, some of the Houston fans are, they're quick to turn their nose up at Conference USA now that they're out of it. But it's only a year removed. And to be honest, a lot of the same teams are involved now over at the new conference. So, I think the fan base as a whole in general, they respect UTSA for what they can do. They got Travis Bush over there now, who's obviously very familiar with UTSA, and I'm certain they've got the team focused and they're not going to overlook this, even though they have a bye week and then they start conference play after that. But I think probably they respect UTSA. They've got, like I said, they've got that program on the right track, and they're growing and they're getting better, and they're a competitive team. And if you look past them, I think they'll surprise you in a heartbeat.
Yeah, we're talking to Rob Sellers here of CougarsDen.com. Rob, it's Gibbons here. Speaking of that, you're talking about Houston being a year removed from Conference USA. We're a young program here, trying to grasp at straws sometimes to find that, that rival. Being that they're not in the same conference, but being that they're both in Texas, is there anything that you can see maybe this becoming a rivalry? You're talking about conference realignment as well, maybe being a possibility. Are there rumblings in Houston about perhaps maybe foreshadowing of a rivalry, perhaps?
I've not heard anything specific on the conference front as far as that going on, but I know a lot of the fans, they respect UTSA, and they think, obviously they love stuff like that, a destination that's 3 hours away for them.
Absolutely.
They can go, they can watch a game. It's a quick, even if it had to be, it could be a quick day trip, although most fans are smart. They come down last night. They get a chance to spend a couple nights on the Riverwalk and get the San Antonio scene in for a couple nights. But I think a lot of fans would love to have UTSA. If I'm not mistaken, they're already scheduled for next year, and the early rumblings I've had, although it's not been made official yet, is that it's probably going to be the first game for Houston's new stadium next year. So
nice.
They'll get UTSA in there to open the stadium. And again, like I said, with UTSA, you got to be careful with that because, each year they've gotten better. And so, you want to bring a team in that you could probably win. Let's be honest. You open a new stadium, you probably want to try to win that game. But
yeah.
If you're not careful with UTSA, they're going to continue to get better. And if I'm not mistaken, you guys should have just about everybody back next year, right?
Getting there, yeah. Hey, Rob, all I've been reading about all week is how fast this Houston Cougars team is. Talk a little bit about the team's athleticism and how they might use that against UTSA.
Definitely. They've always been a fast team. That's just they've fallen into that in that mold, and they've stuck with it because it's worked for them with the wide open offense, the spread offense. The crazy part is probably the fastest player on the team on the receiver side is Larry McDuffie, who really hasn't had much production early on. But of course, they like to spread it out and use their speed, just like you said. And I think they're going to continue to do that. The key with them is like consistency from the quarterback, being real consistent with your decision making and throws, and they've got John O'Corn, the freshman, in there playing right now, and he's getting better week to week. He's slowly getting better, and if he continues to do the things to improve himself and not repeat the mistakes that he does make, I think long term he's got a shot of being a pretty good quarterback. But as it relates more directly to this game, Ryan Jackson back there's got a lot of speed at running back. They're missing their bigger back. Kenneth Farrell will probably again not be playing this week. He suffered an ankle injury in the Temple game a few weeks back, and he's kind of the thunder to Ryan Jackson's lightning. But they've done a good job of getting Ryan Jackson some more carries, and he's handled it pretty well. So they'll continue to do that, and hope for Kenneth Farrell to be back in the next couple of weeks. But receiver-wise, they've got Daniel Spencer out there. He's a quick guy. And not just on the offensive side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball. Last week, Houston got introduced to true freshman Tyus Bowser, who's playing the rush-in position. He's not even starting, but he had a heck of a game. He had an interception when he dropped into coverage downfield and had a sack and another tackle for a loss. So he's a real quick, kind of one of those freak athlete type guys. He's not quite big enough to put his hand on the ground, but not quite fast enough to be a linebacker. So they put him at that rush-in spot and let him just kind of get after the quarterback a little bit. So they do have speed from both sides of the ball, and that's something that they've decided to go with and stick with, and it's worked for them pretty much for the most part. So that's where they try to take advantage, is getting the speed in there.
We're joined by Rob Sellers of CougarsDen.com. I keep hearing about this kid, Greg Ward, who's another freshman quarterback that occasionally comes in on special packages. How explosive is this kid, and how often might we see him in this game today?
I think you'll definitely see him in the game. Last week, the original plan that Coach Levine talked about after the fact was they were going to bring Greg Ward in the fourth series of the game, but the quarterback, John O'Corn, actually got the wind knocked out of him on a play, took a pretty good hit. And so they brought him a little early and let him run a few plays in that series that O'Corn went down in. But I imagine probably about the same thing. I would expect maybe they'll bring him in the fourth series. And, as explosive as he is with his legs, I mean, he did tremendous things at John Tyler while he was there and had a lot of success, led them deep into the playoffs last year. He can throw the ball as well. He can throw the ball very well. I mean, he's definitely a small guy. He's 5'10", 150, 160 type deal. But he's just one of those guys. You get the ball in his hands, and he's real jukey. He's that water bug type guy that everybody talks about.
Hey, Rob.
You know what I mean? It's hard to catch him.
Hey, yeah. What if UTSA is going to win or at least compete and keep it really close in this game? What do they need? What needs to happen? I guess what I'm asking here is, what is the weakness of this U of H team?
I think the best thing for UTSA to try to do, what I expect them to try to do, is they're gonna try to make the freshman quarterback beat him. He's still young, he's still growing, he's got weak spots. I think they're gonna try to get pressure on him. That's a good thing to try to get him moving around back there. See if you can't rattle him and mess up some of the rhythm they try to get into offensively. If you can mess up the rhythm offensively early in the game, and you can get them down early, I think that would be a good thing for UTSA to try to do.
You can follow Rob on Twitter at Cougars_Den. Make sure you put that underscore in there.
I've already checked.
Follow both.
Yeah, I've already
That's
checked
what I'm doing.
just Cougars Den, and it's an interesting follow.
Rob
sure.
Seller from CougarsDen.com. It's your home for all University of Houston Cougar news. Go there, check it out. He'll be here in San Antonio. Maybe we'll run into you in the press box today. Thanks for joining us, Rob, and we'll talk to you. Maybe catch up with you later on.